6 things that do not impact the price of your home. There are a lot of things out there that many people in and out of the industry believe place some sort of a value in real estate. This is going to give you an increased price. By doing this, you get this. By making that improvement, you'll get this. But let me dispel a couple of those rumors right off the bat. But first, we need to establish a couple fundamental things. That price is set by you, the homeowner, and your agent. That's price. That's basically an arbitrary number that you do a little bit of research, hopefully a lot more than a little bit, but you do some research into figuring out what you can conceivably ask for in the marketplace. Now, when it comes to value, that's what the buyers are going to establish. Because if you ask for this and then the value that someone is willing to pay are the same thing, you win, good to go. If not, if it's high, if it's low, if these things are off, that is the difference between the price and the value. The price you set, the value the market sets. Okay, got that? Let's go into the first one. Number one factor that does not impact the price of your home is how much you paid for it. Sorry, just doesn't come into play. Unless you've only been there for about 3 months, the price that you paid has no relevance on the price that should be there now, much less the value that the buyers are going to pay. Because the buyers aren't going to look at that if that number is very old, and it really doesn't play any factor if it's really new either, unless there are no other things to go on. And again, you purchased your house very, very recently, like within a year. But hopefully you're not in that situation. Number 2 is how much you paid for improvements. Just because you spent $10,000 on that really nice carpet, there really doesn't hold a lot of value in the buyer's eyes. The buyers are just going to look at it and see, well, carpet, got it. And it's also not going to impact that price, because if you price it according to how much you've spent on all these things, you're going to price yourself right out of the market for your competitors if they didn't do the same thing. So that's great that you spent $10,000 on the carpet. I'm sure it's really, really nice, but buyers aren't really going to care about that. And that's why there's no value really associated with it. On the other side of that coin, you can find certain buyers that find something that you did in your house and they go, wow, this is amazing, I gotta have that. But then they're liable to offer you that. Problem is, going after that one person, going after that one thing, kind of means you exclude the rest of the market. So you really need to pay attention to who you're marketing the home to and the approach that you're using in trying to attract that type of buyer into your house. Going after one particular buyer and all of your strategy from pricing to marketing, kind of risky. But you can do that if you have a more comprehensive marketing plan. You're really going after a broader audience with a bunch of different tentacles, we'll say, down into various market segments. Okay, that's off the subject. Number 3 is how much you paid in maintenance. It doesn't matter that you just put a new HVAC system in there. It really doesn't hold a whole lot of value in the home as far as monetarily, because most buyers are going to assume that you have taken care of the place. And if it's of a certain age, certain appliances, certain other things are going to be near their phase out date. They're certainly going to discover this in the home inspection when everybody's going to go through that and go, hey, this is beyond its normal serviceable life. And then you're going to have to address it again. So if you did put a lot of money out there toward maintenance in the house, good for you. That's what's being a strong and good responsible homeowner. If you didn't, it's probably going to come back to bite you. So it's more likely to take money away from you than it is to put money down. That said, when it does come to things like the home inspection and some other portions of the negotiation, if you have detailed maintenance records and how much you spent and what you've done, it certainly helps in the negotiation, but it doesn't help establish a price or a value. The next is how much you owe on the home. How much you owe on the mortgage really doesn't play into anything, because you can refinance, you can have a home equity line of credit, a home equity loan, all kinds of other things that you can get, and it doesn't really matter to the buyer how much you owe on all those things. Where it's critically important to you, and it's very, very important that you understand what your net is and what it needs to be based on various pricing scenarios and sales price scenarios. You need to understand that. But how much you owe on the mortgage doesn't play into price or value. They're two different things. So number 5, it doesn't really matter how much your neighbor's house sold for 5 years ago. It's very easy. We have very funny memories. And it's easy to look around and go, oh, well, the neighbors over there, they just sold their house for fill in the blank. And, well, I really hope I get that much. And that was 3 years ago. Oh, wow, I didn't realize that was 3 years ago. Gosh, have they been there that long? I mean, look, this is just normal. That's what happens with us. We don't really see that. So the neighbor's house that sold 3 years ago, even a year ago, might not have that much impact on what you can get today, because there are micro movements in the market and competition is everything. And those are a series of other videos that you can link to down here. But that really doesn't play a factor, even though in your own mind, you've seen it 100 times. Just like if you drive a red car, you tend to see other red cars. You can remember that your neighbor's house was for sale and what it sold for, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate or that it will impact your price today and especially going forward. Last, and this is the fun one, number 6, it doesn't matter what Zillow says it's worth. That is a Zestimate. 2 things. Zestimate, made up word, made up formula. It's just not accurate at all. They even say so in some of their fine print, and I'll link to that down below in the message. You can see exactly where they say this is what our Zestimate consists of. That said, in some areas it's very, very accurate, because the more data that goes into it, the more accurate it's going to be. But in other areas it's really not that accurate at all, because the everything from a difference in square footage to price, because one is a short sale and one is a regular traditional sale, these 2 things, they don't average together very well. So the Zestimates are a mess. But a lot of people look at those Zestimates go, oh, well, Zillow says it's worth that. Look, that's not what Zillow does. That's not what they do well. That's not what they do best. And it's probably something they shouldn't continue to do, even though I know they will. But the Zestimate, bad stuff. Great site, don't pay attention to that. So how can you take some of these things and how can you get yourself from the pricing point that we talked about before over to a market value point over here? If you price your home too high, one of the things that you are potentially faced with is a longer period of time on the market. Now, a couple things happen when that starts to go on. The longer you are on the market, the more your pricing strategy starts to tail off. The less likely you are to get that original price that you asked for. So a very simple, easy calculation to do is take your PITI, that's your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, take that payment that you make every month and multiply it times the number of months that would be bad news for you. If you can't sell your house within 6 months, 8 months, 3 months, 2 months, whatever it is, multiply your PITI, which is basically your mortgage cost, multiply that times the number of months that you expect that would be the worst case scenario. That's going to come up with a number. Whether it's, you pay $1,000 in mortgage and over 6 months, that's going to be $6 grand. Let's just say $6 grand is a number that you should reduce or look at from reducing from your ideal price. Let's say your ideal price is $400,000. You reduce that by $6,000, and that is a more realistic price for you to make you feel comfortable. Now, why I say that is because you can take a chance. You're more than willing to. It's your decision, not the real estate agents. You can take a chance by pricing your home a little bit higher based on all these factors that we talked about. And then you can see what happens. Maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. But as it starts to tail off toward that end of the cycle, you're not likely to get that full price offer. In fact, it's very highly likely that you're going to get a lower offer even than after a price reduction that you've done down here. So take that ideal number that you want and subtract that other number that we just talked about. That should give you a number for a basic point. Now, when you have that number, in our case, that was $394. You look at that $394 and you go, I just can't accept that. You go, well, if you try a high pricing strategy, you might end up with that. So would you rather have $394 now or $394 6 months from now? I mean, it's kind of a choice that you have to make. It's not right or wrong. This is not me telling you that you have to do it a certain way. This is just one way to calculate and see what the difference is between price and value and how that comes back to impact you. There are other things that we can talk about how getting to your net is the most important thing that we can do, but that's for another day. And I appreciate you watching. If you got comments, questions, if there's some other topic that you'd like me to dig into deeper, pop that in the comment down there and I would love to hear what you have to say and then produce another video for you on that deep dive subject. I love going down the rabbit hole, as you might be able to tell. So again, thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.